Hello everyone, welcome to Katharine's Creatures. This is a series where I get to talk a little bit about and touch base upon various mythological beast beings and the like pulled from lore worldwide. And I always like to preface by saying that I'm not a linguist, so if I mispronounce anything, I do apologize in advance. And today I wanted to talk about the cryptid called the Mothman. And the Mothman comes from West Virginia folklore in the United States. And it was originally described as some kind of humanoid creature that had been reported to be seen around the Point Pleasant area of West Virginia between the dates of November 15th, 1966 and December 15th, 1967. So about a little over a year span. And originally, some of the descriptions of the Mothman kind of gave it more avian features rather than the fact that it's called Mothman, not Birdman, but it was associated to have more bird-like features. We'll get to that in a moment. After the original sighting, there was a news report that came out, I think, the following day. And the title of this news report says, "Couples see man-sized bird, ... creature, ... something." And interestingly enough, it was that article that not only got it famous, this Mothman, locally, but a national press kind of picked up on this idea and started spreading the concept and these sightings across the United States. So the fame of the Mothman started to spread. Now, potentially, in all probably reality, quote unquote, there's a lot of people who think that these sightings were actually people seeing real birds like the sandhill crane or maybe herons, these long, tall, narrow, thin, but surprisingly tall birds, and not knowing what they were looking at, kind of misidentified it as this monstrous creature, the Mothman. But going back to the fact that the story of the Mothman started catching fire, it continued to spread the fame through the United States and picking up actually more and more reports along the way, aided in fact by some people like Gray Baker in 1970, who was writing about the concept of the Mothman, and John Keel in 1975, who released his own book called The Mothman's Prophecies. And actually, it is that book that in 2002 was turned into a film that featured the actor Richard Gere as one of the leading stars in that particular film. But back to the original book, The Mothman's Prophecies, that was the book that actually started pairing the Mothman sightings with other paranormal events. And so the story and fame kind of started taking a life of its own and becoming more and more mysterious along the way. Now, going back to the original sighting. So the original sighting was dealt with two different couples. There was Steve and Mary Millette, I think that was their last name, and Roger and Linda Scarsberry. And these two couples reported seeing this large creature with glowing red eyes. And they spotted it near the road, near what they called a TNT area, in quotes, near a former World War II munitions plant. So, very specific location where they saw this creature. And when one of the women was being interviewed about, well, what did this creature look like? Her response was that it was slender, muscular man of about 7 feet tall with white wings. And when further asked about, can you give any more details about face and features, she said no, because the eyes were so hypnotic that it prevented her from actually focusing on anything else but the eyes. Regardless, to say, all 4 participants were kind of scared. And getting back into their vehicle, they drove away. And in their report, they said this Mothman took to the sky, started flying after them, screeching and pursuing them until they reached the city limits. And at that point, that's when the Mothman veered away and left them alone. And it was only about 4 days later where other reports of similar strange entities started occurring. And that's why over the next year and some change, we had plenty of reports about this Mothman entity lurking around Point Pleasant area of West Virginia. And as the stories go, and so, like I said, the paranormal sightings and associations with the creature, one of the stories actually blamed the Mothman for contributing to a bridge's collapse. And so, who knows what the Mothman was thought to truly be capable of. But Simpson has definitely given us a lot of lore, and in the cryptid area, there are definitely people who have searched for the Mothman over years, but so far, no one has discovered the source or the truth behind the Mothman legends outside of the reports we have already documented. Now, if you have any questions about this or anything else, please post them in the comments below or reach out to me on any of my social media. And until next time, everyone, Skål.